you can
show GMs, yes.
Yeah, yes.
34 points. So yes, he would have been promoted.
So Bunny Hopper is incredibly lucky that Monsanto didn't move to Europe.
Didn't get relegated and then moved to Europe in the interim. Yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, Bunny Hopper just wouldn't be here. He'd have to have moved to America to qualify.
Yeah, and then he would have sailed through being 23 points ahead of the next person who was eligible for promotion. Oh, there we go. Fled breaking out the hat once again.
Yes.
On the player card there for Monsanto. It is rumored that his power is contained within his hat. This rumor is, I'm pretty sure, even originated from Brazil. So, quite funny that glasses too.
Love it.
That's what's even funnier is that has to be exceptionally distracting to have glasses with one lens on and one lens off, and what appears to be a very uncomfortable hat.
And he's chosen during the final, and this is why we love Fled, because he is there not just to win Hearthstone tournaments, but to entertain everybody along the way. This is why we're all big fans of the guy.
Yeah. All right. We didn't even talk about the deck. So we mentioned this briefly when we saw Monsanto and Language Hacker previously. The Shadow Priest list that they're playing runs 4 of the 0 cost minions, double Desk Imp, double Tiny Fin, alongside Disciplinary and Ganling. Which, if you're unfamiliar, whenever you Disciplinary Ganling format a 3/6 that whenever you play a minion, Disciplinary Ganling kills it and replaces it with a 4/4. So you can do some crazy things like play Disciplinary Ganling on 4, drop a couple Desk Imps alongside it, and get 4/4s out of them. There's also an even step further, which I've explained again previously, but in case anybody wasn't there, because it actually kills the minions off, you can then raise it on the same turn, get back the 0 drops, play them again. So you can have nearly a board full of 4/4s on turn 4 with this deck, which is huge pop-off potential. Though it's at the expense of having 0 mana 1/1s in your deck. But here comes the caveat to that. Explanation continues. You play Voracious Reader in the deck. So it's much easier to dump your hand as opposed to the kind of traditional Shadow Priest where you're running like Void Shards or Kazakis, sometimes the Dragon Ball Overseers. So your hand gets clogged up. It's harder to completely empty your hand. This list, it's much easier, and so that's where the Voracious Reader comes in, and thus the deck was born.
And what a deck. It's got all the way to the finals. Monsanto here has got a problem. He knows that Feral Spirits is super likely because Fled thought for quite a long time, which he doesn't always do. He's actually quite hard to read with his thinking times. But thought for quite a long time and chose not to overload, which means he wants to play a 3, which means he's got Feral Spirits. Because it wouldn't be anything else, most likely. Or he's got a garbage hand, in which case it doesn't matter what you do. So Monsanto had to plot a course around that. And here we are. Fled does have plenty of removal. I know he only has 1 Lightning Bolt, but double Guidance, that's quite a lot of removal too.
Most of the time, it certainly is. The main card that's on your mind as a Shadow Priest, though, in this matchup is the Perpetual Flame. It is a card that you're not aggressively looking for in the mulligan for Quest Shaman, because there's a lot of things. You can keep Lightning Bloom, Feral Spirit. Lightning Bloom is a little bit of a... You can argue Lightning Bloom against Shadow Priest. Some people think it's not good. You'd rather have more tempo options, but I think it's good. But Perpetual Flame is the big one. And so the more resilient you can make your board against Perpetual Flame, the better. Because if Perpetual Flame comes out and removes your entire board, you almost have 0 chance of winning unless it's very late in the game and you've stuck a lot of damage.
Ooh, oh, this is looking nice for Fled. That Slogger is one of the bigger deals. It's not like a huge deal. Didn't look. Just press the button like we've taught everybody between us. Yep. You might have to
this one. Oh, the torrent!
Wow. Bye-bye board.
Yeah. This is even worse than Perpetual Flame for Monsanto because this removes his board and doesn't even overload Fled for that much. That's only one overload going to next turn, which means Fled can confidently drop the Canal Slogger. And yeah, call it a day. Monsanto will be able to refill here. I think Tour Guide plus Voracious Reader is probably the best option. Just don't think Colt Neophyte is worth foregoing card draw in this situation. He needs to kind of stick a board and then use Colt Neophyte to protect it instead of wait! Mind Render Lucia.
No littering.
That's also a good one.
Later, maybe. Fled will be trying to make sure that nothing important gets taken. Because there's not a lockdown, I don't think.
This is late game in this matchup.
It is. You're right. Yeah, that's fair.
Mind Render's coming down almost certainly next turn. I don't see a world where it doesn't, unless... Okay, Monsanto does have to think about... Okay, never mind. I was going to say, there's a potential that he could hold on to the Tiny Fin, see if Disciplinary Gambling is drawn off the top. If it is, he could play that and then Mind Render the following turn. But I think he knows that he has to Mind Render next turn, so he's just going to go for it. But Earth Elemental is pretty tough.
And completes the quest for an extra 3/3 just in case.
Oh, no. That's like the worst draw off the top, by the way. When you want to play Mind Render because you want to give them nothing. Okay, well, those are two good pickups.
If he hits the Voracious Reader there, it just gets really messy.
Yeah, so we'll have 2 mana left. Actually can clear off the Earth Elemental with the Rockbiter weapon.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a chance here. Okay, there's a chance. Because the turn will pass back over to Fled. Fled will get 1 card from Monsanto's deck off the top, which, you know, could be a Desk Imp.
So you're saying that the reason you play all these bad cards in Priest is actually so that when your opponent draws them, they're rubbish.
Yeah. It could also be like Void Touch Attendant, which at this stage in the game would actually be like worse for Fled, to be honest.
Yeah, he can't play it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, he's still going to play it because he'd rather play it on his terms rather than his opponent's terms. He'd rather have it on his side than his opponent having it. So, okay, Twilight Deceptor is actually pretty good because...
Just play it first.
I don't know.
Actually, maybe you don't.
Because he could get back... The Feral Spirit tokens cost 2. And those have been like the main things that have died in a Diligent Note Taker, so he wouldn't be able to play 2 of them. All right, yeah, it is correct to play it first because he doesn't want to give those things back over to Monsanto because he wouldn't be able to play all of them guaranteed. If he could dump them all, like if it was like a Novice Zapper and then a Diligent Note Taker, he'd play it.
Monsanto is still in the ascendancy on the board. Yeah. But obviously has played a lot of his good things. Needs to get it done with this and maybe the next card or 2 from the top before Fled stabilizes. The charge call could just be a huge deal. Fled's still on 30, so he's got a little bit of time as well.
Yep. So, off the top for Monsanto from this point on, I'm going to run through kind of the hits for him. That's one of them. Twilight Deceptor gives him Raise Dead, which could...
Blessings, mates.
Yeah.
At that, the Voracious...
Wow.
Which would refill his hand. Or just picking up the Voracious Reader off the top would also be beneficial. Picking up Raise It off the top would be not as good. Because then you'd rather hit the Deceptor because it's got a body attached to it, even though it's 2 mana. Hey! All right,
there it is.
Never mind. We can call it a day.
You talked about this card.
Novice Zapper, Molten Blast, and a Perpetual Flame. And a Charge Call, actually. Boom.
Sure,
oh, wait, no. He played the thing first. Oh, no, he's still good.
He's fine. He's good.
Yeah, he's good. Because +1 spell damage.
Oh, he gets the best one.
Yeah. And that's really good sequencing, actually, because he knew that was a possibility. Usually in that situation, 8s are better than 9s. And he needed the spell damage to get the Perpetual Flame and still be able to push the damage forward. Yep. That's a big old scoop.
Hat versus hat.
It's just so...
Love it.
Finals, by the way.
Yep. I love how he's just deadpan. Like, just sits there like I always look like this. It's great. Just absolutely deadpan.
Yeah, this is normal. So, decent opening for Monsanto, but Quest Shaman, I feel like, just has this deck's number. If Monsanto was able to stick a bigger board and then Mind Render, like let's say the Earth Elemental wasn't there and Fled was resigned to just kind of like having a turn where he collects resources, which sometimes happens, right? You have development turns and you have resource turns. It's kind of this ebb and flow with Quest Shaman.
Yeah.
If it was a resource gathering turn and then Monsanto was able to Mind Render, stick a board over multiple turns, and then have a chance to react to the minions, maybe that would have been a different case, but there's very narrow windows of opportunity as Shadow Priest versus Quest Shaman. And all of them are kind of put to a stop by either Earth Elemental or Perpetual Flame in this particular
deck has tall, wide windows of opportunity, not the narrow ones you were just talking about. These windows are gigantic, and the Auctioneer can just step through them and just glass everywhere, sort it out, garrot people, there's blood, it flies at your face, 2 at a time, 3 at a time, 4 at a time, 5 at a time, 6 at a time, and yeah, your opponent just explodes. So yeah, plenty of reasons to be happy about this matchup.
Yeah. Well, this deck, there's actually not windows of opportunity, right? There is one massive window.
Okay.
And you have a trampoline in front of you, and it's just all about, and the window keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, okay? But there's something behind you, an unknown entity, a monster of sorts, that's slowly chasing you. And you're not sure how far it can reach, but as it gets closer, you can kind of guess how far it can reach because it's becoming more visible. And you have to wait until the last...
Smell it?
Yes, it does. Yep. And you have to wait until the last possible moment, right when you think the monster's about to reach you, to jump on the trampoline out of the giant window. And yes, it is a trampoline. Sometimes trampolines can be unpredictable. And so sometimes you will miss the window and hit it and fall and hurt yourself badly. But because the window is so big and it keeps getting bigger, usually when you decide to jump on the trampoline out of that giant window, you'll make it, you'll clear it, and you'll move on to the next game.
Amazing. Where you get the same thing, but the windows are different size depending on what you're up against. Depends what the monster does. Maybe it's a fast monster that smells less, or maybe it's a big, slow, lumbering monster that stinks, and you just, the window's gigantic. I like it. It's a good analogy, and I think everybody will be on board with this.
Yeah, and Quest Shaman, you know, it has like more of like a dark purple fur to it. So sometimes it can be hard to tell exactly how close it is to reaching you. But usually you'll know. Usually you'll know when it's time to try and jump out the window.
So this turn, Monsanto's on 30. His opponent has 2 mana and no minions. He's safe. He can go another turn.
Yep. Yeah. It's mostly around like turn 6, turn 7 is the turn where you'll usually can pop off. This is a good hand to do it with because Monsanto has sketchy information. He then has Octobot into Swindle, into Backstab to reduce the cards that were picked up off the Swindle. And I'm pretty sure that's exact hand size management. He might need to play this Backstab defensively, though, in this situation, especially with how fast Flood seems to be going. Ooh, the Imprisoned Satyr, that's not good. He wants to be pressuring immediately. And outside of Instructor Fireheart, I mean, I guess there's a couple hits, right? Earth Elemental would be the big one. If you can pick up Earth Elemental and get the discount on it from the Imprisoned Satyr, that'd be great. Instructor Fireheart, too, would also be big. But the majority of his deck is spells. So...
yeah, he just wanted a spider tank there to say, I'm going to hit you for 5 a turn if my other guy gets backstabbed.
Yeah.
Does pick up another portal, so that's something. apply a little more pressure. Of course, the Satyr will at least be a minion next turn. That's a start. But it does look like Monsanto's going to get all the time in the world, and this window is just huge. It's going to cost a fortune.
We forgot one piece of the analogy, and that was the ability to freeze the monster in place. Or
so like a temporary wall between you and the monster.
Yep, an indeterminate amount of time, which in this case is the Cloak of Shadows. There are not many decks that can kill through a Cloak of Shadows. D6 Warlock, well, any Quest Warlock is really about it. Or a mirror match, right? Any non-direct damage sources.
Yeah, there's not many. Hunter sometimes.
Hunter sometimes, but very.
The Hunter kills you anyway, like.
Up aim shot. Yeah.
So many
Monsanto gonna. He's gonna look at his hand here, and the best thing for hand management would just be to play the shark and then reevaluate next turn. Oh no, he's actually gonna get the sketchy information out. Wait, what?
Efficient is sufficient.
Okay.
Nature's true power.
Nope.
Give me a second to.
Okay.
I'll let you know how I feel about this.
Sure. Meanwhile, Fled's in a position where he's got to play to his outs. He's got to work out if he wants to bump into the Octo as well. I feel like we're just going to see him eventually coin, note taker, portal you in the face.
Yeah. Okay, so pros and cons of this play from Monsanto. Pros, he currently does not have a way to activate his own Octobot in his hand. And if you're going to have to rely on your opponent, this is the best turn to do it because he would have to outright kill it with 4 damage, which is not the easiest thing to do. Otherwise, Monsanto gets the proc next turn. Also, the upside is if Fled doesn't proc the Frenzy on the Octobot this turn himself, Monsanto could then get more resources into his hand with Swindle and Sketchy Information and then get additional cost reduction because of it.
Surprising play. I thought that this wouldn't happen. I thought he might choose to hex it, but actually deliberately getting rid of the shark is interesting to me. But he thought about that long and hard.
I don't think he can afford to have a what is essentially a dead turn.
Right.
In order to hex the lone shark. All right, so there's Auctioneer. It's not discounted, but Monsanto's going to have a healthy amount of coins.
How close to the monster, TJ? There's 12 damage on board.
Not close.
So he doesn't need to
Fled
collect
is
this turn?
quite overloaded. I believe that's 3 overload, portal, and then 2 perpetual flame. So will only be 2 mana next turn.
Going the other way on this question, I'm gonna reverse it. Does he need to wait another turn? Like he can just cloak now and then auctioneer with 1,000,000 coins. His hand size a problem anyway.
Too soon. So many.
So even though he doesn't need to cloak, maybe just cloaking and going for it next turn solves his issues because his hand is a mess. But yep, he's going to greed it. I don't mind this.
I think he wants to get this Swindle off first.
Okay.
This play could be punished by Hex. There's double coin Hex available.
Yeah, and this time it's a bit more of a nightmare, at least from where, you know, if there wasn't a cloak. This time, Fled's actually now threatening some sort of lethal. We know about the cloak, but denied 2 coins and facing down lethal, the rogue, without the cloak. They'd have played 1 originally. I still have no idea why. It would actually be a slight issue.
Yeah. But he played the Groat last turn, so he doesn't want to see any bleeds coming out right now. Alright, hits Ethereal Aug Merchant, which is important, because then he can actually give spell damage to the Auctioneer before he starts playing these coins, which means one, if he hits a Shadow Step, that's free additional spell damage plus another card draw. It's also good because he's already shuffled Garrote Bleeds into the deck, and in order to maximize damage, he's going to want that spell power out first, so in his draw chain, the Bleeds will be dealing additional damage. So, and Monsanto kind of has to go off next turn because this is full quest completion, and Monsanto's at 12 health. The only thing that could change his opinion here would be a Cloak of Shadows off the top, but he readies up just in case it's not. He's going to see the draw. It's a bleed. Didn't want to see that. He'd rather get the spell damage for the bleed, but now he's got to go. This is it. The monster has approached. He smelled it. It's close. It's time to jump off the trampoline and hope you clear the window.
Go, go, go. So not a disaster that the bleeds came early because he does still have the second Garrote, which he's likely to find. The Shadow Step's really handy here because he gets to double up on the spell damage and, of course, keep drawing through his deck.
I'm really surprised he didn't get the spell damage out first, because if he had picked up more bleeds in that sequence, it could have affected the math. Well, it doesn't matter because he didn't find him. Okay, Octobot's good because he gets the spell damage and gets the free discount on all these cards. But honestly, he needs preps. Needs preps. Shadow Step's good. Another spell damage as well as another free cycle.
On 2 mana for a while, but that's going to start whittling away about now if he doesn't hit a prep. That's why he needs the preps to just keep his mana up. He's down to 1. He'll need to hit 3 more times, possibly 4 actually. There's a prep.
Prep Cloak. Yeah, he doesn't have enough mana to prep Cloak. He cleared off much of the board though. He didn't find the second Garrote. Last 3 cards are prep, Garrote, and Sinister Strike. Now last 2 cards are prep, Sinister Strike. So he actually has guaranteed.
He's dead. Note taker, bolt, bolt.
You're right. He's dead.
I think.
Oh, yes, we have to wait. Fled's still watching the animations.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I was wondering what the pause was there for a second, yeah.
Yep. And that is brutal for Monsanto because that's theoretically a good matchup. And just the way everything panned out, one, the Hex came down the Loan Shark, which severely ruined Monsanto's ability to pop off on the turn that he did. 2, last 2 cards were Prep and Sinister Strike. If those had come at all in that sequence, that was near guaranteed lethal for Monsanto. Last 3 cards being Garrote, Prep, Sinister Strike when you're popping off is almost worst case scenario, because that's where all of the extra damage comes from. So Monsanto, I think, played that pretty well. It's just when you're playing a combo deck like this that relies on getting to pretty much the bottom of your deck, if anything interrupts you, whether it's you get less coins than expected or your actual burn damage was at the very bottom of your deck, then it can flop.
Nice play by Fled. Combined early on, getting the pressure down. Then he hexed a shark, which would have made all the difference if he hadn't done that. And he threatened lethal damage in 2 different ways. And he kept the pressure on to give himself the maximum chance. I would have lost that game. I'd either hex too early or not put enough damage down, or not charge through the quest so that the lightning bolt could do so much damage with a note taker. Lots of things Fled did right there. Even though it looked like he had no agency in the game, he actually did a whole load of little things that gave him that win. If he doesn't do every single one of those in the right order, he loses that game anyway on the next turn.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was guaranteed lethal the next turn because if Prep and Sinister Strike are the last 2 draws, Monsanto, this wasn't guaranteed, but it was very close.
Yeah, let's go with guaranteed enough.
No, it was because he's guaranteed to draw the Prep. So he goes because he auctioneers, and then if he gets Sinister Strike, he plays Sinister Strike, which then draws the Prep. Then he Prep Garrotes, which shuffles all the bleeds in and then draws them all. So if there was one more turn, that's it. Or if Monsanto draws that Prep at any time as he's going off. Just kind of a rough pan out. But yeah, you're right. Fled maximum pressure each and every turn, not overreacting on the first Loan Shark, making sure that he just kept Monsanto under pressure. Even if you go back to the very first turn, right? If he hadn't gone in with the Zapper and, what was it, Feral Spirits at that time? It was Zapper and something, just the pressure at the very beginning of the game. Forcing Monsanto to backstab that early. Okay, yeah, the bad portal. But forcing Monsanto to backstab that early because of the threat of the Zapper is actually a big deal, which means he can't curate his hand to get the Octobot discount that he wanted. So, very good recognition of the matchup from Fled. And now Monsanto has to reverse sweep with his own Quest Shaman if he wants to take a win.
Well, Fled's shown him how it's done for the first 2 games. Hopefully Monsanto's been paying attention and tries to do what Fled's been doing back at him. Fled also has the Hunter and the Druid remaining. The Hunter, probably not that great if he has to play it. The Druid, probably pretty good. But first of all, it's the mirror match for Monsanto. Again, always interesting to see how people approach this mirror match, because the very reductive way to talk about it is you want to get your whole quest line complete and just make big 8 drops. That's it. But there's a lot more to it than that. Or even big 10 drops.
Oh, man. How do you do this?
It's about what you want to do with the coin, right? How much value does this coin have? That's what Monsanto needs to weigh up. He can have a really good turn now if this was against anything other than the mirror, with the whole lightning bloom and instantly get all the crystals back because you complete the quest.
Okay. Yeah, he's going to complete the quest with guidance, which I think is smart. He's going for resource. He's got good follow-up with Feral Spirits. I mean, this is some decent stuff. This is some decent stuff.
It is. Interesting to see if he gets that spores down later when the charge call is played, all that stuff. It is decent stuff, but it's going to be slow, and Fled's got his own chance to make the same sort of stuff happen. But
yeah,
he'd take it. Monsanto will be happy with his position for sure. It's just a bit hard to know. It's a bit like the old priest mirrors. You don't really know where you're at until the game starts to unfold a little bit.
What to do?
Yeah. All you can do is make value happen, tick your quest along, and see if your things interact nicely with their things when you open a few boxes.
Yeah, it's about managing your resources and understanding what your position is in the game, like when you need to go in and disregard removal, when you need to play around removal, what kind of thresholds you play around in the late game once both players have completed the quest. But it does tend to be a matchup where things just go very slowly up until they start to go very quickly. Comparing it to the priest mirror or priest mirror, I think is, you know, very apt. Just because, or just at a much more accelerated pace.
Yeah, thankfully it doesn't do what the priest mirror does in terms of 3 hours later we're still here on turn 12 and somebody's just played their 14th raise dead. But yeah, it doesn't do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's very similar though, where you open a bunch of boxes early and see what you get, but then instead of both players having infinite removal, at a certain point, both players have infinite damage. So that's where it differs.
Thankfully, yeah, they're definitely more aggressive boxers.
Yeah. Monsanto trying very hard here to see if there's any play he can make that's reasonable that plays around Perpetual Flame. But he's just going to say, you don't have it. And then Fled's going to say, I have it.
You can assemble some weird combos as well, sort of revolve and tiny toys and that sort of thing is the subplot here, depending what your first boxers do. You might start looking for some interesting things later on.
Yeah.
But they're all subplots to how quick you can do your quest and can you get your charge call on the board, doing the thing twice.
The storm is in me.
Time to stir some stones. Monsanto's already been stirring his stones for a while.
The storm is in me.
Pepper, Lightning Storm, that'll complete the second portion of the quest. We'll get the Elemental and clear the board. It's looking for swings.
Stones are stirred. Time to tame the flame.
Missing some Overload cards in hand.
Well, Overdraft looks like an Overload card. You could plead if it works.
It has the word Overload on it. That's
Good start.
for sure. That is for sure. Okay.
But yeah, he is actually out of stuff apart from the charged calls, but if you play the charged calls, you're wasting charged calls for later.
Yeah.
play them anyway.
So this is at 7 now. So Monsanto could get an 8 drop here. So
Well, next turn at least, yeah.
Oh no, this turn.
Oh, because he's going to play Overdraft to get his unlocked.
Yeah. Decides a 9 drop. So on an empty board, this no goes. It's an 8 drop instead. Oh, you baited me into thinking Overdraft was an Overload card.
I've been trying
no
that
matter
for
what.
3 weeks, 2 weeks. I finally
All right.
got that.
Monsanto here has the opportunity to say, "You don't have a hex."
Yeah.
Vivid Spores, the Proto Drake. Oh my goodness, no. That's
So many Drakes.
I think he. Oh no, he's going. No, he can still charge call. Okay. Oh, Overdraft again. Not. He's gonna trade it almost certainly.
Yep.
Yeah. And then grab another 8 drop.
Get another Proto Drake. Yeah, I think because his first roll was so good and he has the spores, he's entitled to go for the second one. But this is all in now. If Fled does somehow fend all this lot off, which I don't fancy his chances, but if he does, that's it. He ends up in the driving seat.
Imagine saying that anything in Quest Shaman is all in. Deck has infinite resources.
All he needs, guidance, and a flame heart.
Energy, power.
Okay, gonna
My
go for
people are
Spores.
addicted to
All right.
it.
His fire heart.
I mean,
I called flame heart, but it's the same thing.
needs 4 damage. Actually, only needs Lightning Bolt off Fireheart is immediately lethal because of the Molten Blast in hand.
You never get it. It doesn't offer damage ever. See, Storm Strike, that's not damage. I mean, it is, but I'm going to pretend.
Probably just Torrent. It's the easiest spell to just cycle.
Merely energy, power. My people are addicted to it.
Okay.
Sure.
This is almost all personal taste to some degree at the moment. There were other routes here that looked equally likely to work. Routes.
Oh, Overdraft.
That'll do.
That's just finishing damage next turn with Molten Blast Overdraft. Put him to 4.
He's
Charge Call is also real good post Brew Calm, but I don't think the game's getting to that point.
Yeah, I mean, what does he lose to here? It starts with a Slogger and I don't even know what else.
Oh!
Never be afraid of your
Okay.
inner power.
What's in the box?
Guidance! Probably take the Lightning Bolt, to be fair.
No, I think it's Guidance, because Guidance could have a
Okay.
Lightning Bolt inside of it. Oh, weird. Wait a second. No, that's
Trying
not
to
enough.
clear it. He's trying to clear it all.
double Primordial Studies into Landslide, double Primordial Studies into double Zapper. So you play the Zapper and then...
Getting through this.
Eat your flesh!
Okay, you need to pick Guidance and hit Lightning Bloom here, I think. So the Landslide is 4 damage AoE.
The storm is in me.
I mean, it was, okay, not dead. Yeah, not dead.
Yeah, he knew he was good
One
because
off.
he would have died last turn if he was dead. Interesting.
There's
No quest left, so the
9
sorceress has
drops,
been
right?
let out. 9 drops are decent.
Yeah,
There's
but
only
there's no
5.
immediate damage 9 drops.
No, we're past Baron-Geddon stages, which was on 7. Is the big one. And Alakir is another one.
Yeah, so you're looking at like Alexstrasza, Onyxia, basically all the dragons.
Yeah.
All the neutral dragons, all the neutral classic or base set, classic set, whichever one it is.
That set.
There is little time. What to do?
Monsanto doesn't get it done this turn. Things get awkward for him because a Slogger for Fled opens it up. I think he's still okay.
Yeah,
Three's
Monsanto also
important.
knows that Fled's going to need to spend 5 mana on Brucon at some point.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the point where Fled has to Brucon Guidance and hope that both Guidance hit good spell plus Lightning Bloom.
I wonder.
Oh no!
Tidal Wave. Going forward. Come on, Fled, you won the last game. You can win this one too. How? Got to stop all the minion damage before he even starts to get anywhere in this game.
There is little time. Now, littering.
No. There's still 9 there. Okay.
Not lethal,
Well, not lethal.
but it's pretty much lethal.
Yeah, lethal in...
How about 2 10 drops?
The elements unbound flow through me.
Like, why don't you just stay down?
Biggest thing, and
Colossus? Because it stops...
Another-
I don't even know.
it's
Monsanto's been-
brilliant to board sweeps. I don't know. It's
Yeah, he's been
That's it.
trading. Yeah. Monsanto trying to be professional and stay focused here, but there's so little chance it can go wrong.
Yeah. I mean, he's still alive. All right, he's no longer. No, he doesn't have an overload card.
Wand Maker into lightning.
Wait.
I don't know what's happening.
No, he's dead. He's dead. He gets the 7 damage through. He gets anything through because he Molten Blasted me. Yeah. All right. I mean, that game was just, you know, Fled kind of. All right. See you, Monsanto. Trying to hope for a miracle turn after turn, just barely staying alive turn after turn. That was like 2 turns in a row where he was alive on like sub 3 health. And then finally Monsanto was able to get through. So that's step 1 of the reverse sweep complete. Monsanto getting the win. Now has, looking at the remaining decks in the lineup, Hunter and Druid, Hunter and Anaconda Druid to get through. Hunter's manageable, Anaconda Druid also manageable, though not quite as manageable, I guess.
Yeah, you want to pressure Druids, and as you see, this deck can rumble along and put some stuff on the board, but if the Druid gets any of its ramp, and there are no wild growths in here, so it is only the 2 overgrowths and all the traditional ramp, maybe the Shaman can rumble along.
Yeah. It's just, if there's an Anaconda pop-off at any time that actually hits reasonably, Shaman just kind of collapses, unless they were so far ahead in the game. But this is not a Celestial Alignment Druid at all. This is just kind of classic Lady Anaconda Druid. Fled is running I guess a more board-centric version of it, running a copy of Soul of the Forest as well. Yeah, he's good to protect from Perpetual Flame.
How bad is Perpetual Flame for you? Like, if I play Glowflies and get 7 Glowflies, and you play Perpetual Flame, who gets the best of that exchange?
Depends where what progress you're on your quest. I mean, if it clears your mana crystals, great. If you can make it so that it clears your mana crystals, great. Fled, Glowfly Swarm in the opening hand, no ramp though, and no card draw. Picks up Germination off the top on 1. Not great, not great. Has multiple turns though to find. Monsanto still needs some time to be able to ramp up the pressure. Feral Rage will at least be some type of defensive tool to deal with Spider Tank number 1.
Yeah, Feral Rage in this deck is just so good against every deck for one reason or another. And the reason this one is what you said. It's against Spider Tanks. It's the old 3/4s for 3.
Yeah. I like the sequence for Monsanto. Played the quest on 1 so it can coin Marsh Spawn on 2. Played the other Marsh Spawn on 3 because he used the coin the previous turn. And then Entrap Sorceress can be used pretty much at any time in between, whereas Marsh Spawn is not. That's not always the case for Marsh Spawn. So
takes the Rock Biter weapon, which is a sign to me that he's hoping to get that to connect to face as some direct damage before the game gets out of control. It's not like the best value card that there was there. It's just probably on about turn 6, just hits you in the face for 3 when you're on 3. That's the plan.
yeah, most likely going to actually overload here because the way Monsanto's hand's looking, he's not going to spend 4 mana next turn. He's almost always going to spend 3, so you might as well just get the Feral Spirits out of the way. It's more power and more health on board.
Fled has the Lunar Eclipse if he wants to deal with those, but he has no play, so he wouldn't want to use that Eclipse until he's actually going to get some use off the ability. He'll probably do it next turn and then Glowfly Swarm.
Big cards Fled's looking for here. With this hand, I suppose I would say Anaconda is not terrible. Fungal Fortunes would be the big one. Overgrowth would also be big just to get it out of the way, get the ramp rolling while there's a little bit less pressure on board.
Yeah, I think he's got 1 turn and 1 turn only really where Overgrowth is still good, and that's next turn. Otherwise the pressure might become too much.
Yep. And what is that? Oh, that's an Overgrowth.
Yeah?
Solid pickup.
Oh.
I mean, Glowfly Storm. You could. You get 5 2/2s, but Monsanto kind of has the perfect answer for it. He's overloaded once. He gets Serpent Shrine Portal and then Perpetual Flame. Refresh the mana crystals and then just be so far ahead. I think Fled is wise to go for the Overgrowth this turn. That way there's much higher potential upside over the next 2.
I think if Fled had been on a lower health total, maybe he'd go for the Glowfly Arbor up and hope it gets there because it's like all hands on deck. But he's got a little bit of time, so even though he's clearly under a lot of pressure, and that's going to get worse and worse from here on in, I do think he was right not to panic and just try and give him a chance to... I mean, at any time if he rips Anaconda, the game changes very, very fast. And if he draws some card draw, the game changes very, very fast.
Yeah, at the moment, Anaconda isn't fantastic. It'd be Anaconda, copy Anaconda, and then that's it. I guess in Lightning Bloom Arbor up or something along those lines, but there's not enough mana to get the Cenarian Ward down, because that would still cost 4 after the double reduction from Germination, and Lightning Bloom wouldn't even be able to be used yet. Monsanto just spending the mana on Rockbiter Weapon to get the damage in is actually hoarding damage in hand with Novice Zapper, Double Serpent Shrine, and Overdraft. So
yeah, he did have up by
it's kind of running out of time. Yeah.
Sorry, he spoke all over you there. But yeah, he took that. That was interesting to me because he took that knowing he was going to weave it in there at some point, just like a Hunter hero power, but for an extra 1. That was his plan all along.
Okay.
This is important.
Oh my goodness. Wait, is this lethal? Novice Zapper, Serpent Shrine Portal Face. That's 4, 6, 7, 8, 12. Yeah, that's lethal. You Serpent Shrine Portal, or you Novice Zapper, Serpent Shrine Portal, Perpetual Flame, Overdraft.
Yeah, and you get the ordering right, hopefully.
Yeah, so that's 8 damage on board. The Serpent Shrine Portal would then deal 4, so that's 12. Yep, he spots it.
Nice. Gonna be 2 apiece. Assuming that TJ and Monsanto have both got it right. I think that's quite likely, personally.
This storm
He just throws a big dumb rock in your face. Great. There we go. 2-2. And now Fled's the one who's got work to do because all he has left is his Hunter, and Hunter is one of those decks that the Shaman is here to prey on to some degree.
Yeah, it doesn't always work out like that. We've seen Fled actually just kind of flexing on Quest Shamans with his face hunter throughout the
We have.
Granted, it's been the same way every time. He just gets a True Aim Crescent, Warsong Wranglers, double Trampling Rhinos, and then like doubles up on Feral Spirits for 1,000,000 damage. He's done that twice. It was like almost the exact same pan out against the exact same deck. But again, doesn't always work out that way. There's a lot of different pan outs for Quest Shaman just because, you know, Quest Shaman's one of those decks where even though sometimes the quest progression can feel the same, right? You're usually using, you know, Lightning Bloom, Feral Spirits, Serpent Shrine Portal, Novice Zappers to get the quest rolling along. It's the in-between, like the random generation spells from Guidance, whether or not you can play with Perpetual Flame or not. So we shall see. Whether or not you can get Sloggers. Slogger's a big deal in the matchup, but sometimes it's just not enough, as we've seen.
And we have seen as well that the Hunter cards, like Perpetual Flame, gets a lot worse after about turn 3, because Hunter cards have surprising amount of health. I mean, I think everyone's seen enough Hunter to know that, but if you've just come back from outer space or somewhere, there's a lot of 4 health minions, 5 health minions in this deck as you get into the later stages. Not a lot, but enough, at least. So Perpetual Flame does start losing some value. Fled keeping the near fight to try and, you know, keep some things under control to some degree as well. So any 1 drop, that'll do. It's not great, but it'll do.
Ooh. Reasonable opening hands for both players.
Yes. As we like it. No crazy. I mean, there is the Perpetual Flame. I guess that's kind of crazy. Oh, Fledge filled out the curve, though. He's got the
All right.
curve. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how numbers work.
If Monsanto, this is completely results-oriented thinking. If he holds this Perpetual Flame and just plays like Diligent Note-Taker or Wand Maker here, he's got the ultimate turn next turn. Fled would play Mancrick. Monsanto could then go Novice Zapper, Lightning Bolt Face, Perpetual Flame, clearing the board, resetting his mana crystals, dealing 4 damage, and sticking a 3/2.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way you can make that. Well, you can make that read, but it's only Mancrick that would change, right? Or actually going wide on board, like Volperting or anything. I think you might look at this and just think Wand Maker's the play. Yeah, I really like this.
Spots it.
If Fled goes wide on board, which is pretty much the only thing you can do on 3 outside of Aim Shot, Monsanto has the ultimate punish next turn. Especially if Fled goes all face here.
And 2 things about this Aim Shot. 1, you never play it there, and 2, you just don't play around Perpetual Flame until much later. Maybe next turn, if you hadn't seen one, you might wait a turn. But yeah.
Yeah, the only quote-unquote waste here is the Lightning Bolt to face. Because oftentimes this matchup is determined by just the Hunter running out of resources and realizing they're not going to get there, more so than just dealing that max amount of damage to them. But it is just clean. Has been an Overload card played. You'd clear your mana crystals. You'd have Canal Slogger the very next turn with exactly 4 mana. It just works out. You'd be sticking a 3/2 and a 2/2. I don't see anything better.
I think Monsanto is actually just being professional at this point and making sure he Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, for sure. Fine. He's just being professional at this point and making sure he gets the things he wants out of it.
Oh, he can actually save the Lightning Bolt, right?
Yeah.
Because he's overloaded for 4 right now. But he could coin Lightning Bolt to start things off and then still have enough mana for Canal Slogger.
Yeah, the Slogger's the big... I mean, he got the 2 cards we talked about. The Flame being the big one, the Slogger being the backup to get you out of things. And Monsanto's got both. But Fled has got a nice draw. I don't think we should write him off just yet. It's looking bad for him. But he has at least got damage and curve. And that's all he can hope for at this point against his hand. The first world problem of not having anything to put the Slogger into.
Oh, Tidal Surge. Well, these are all good.
Tidal Surge is nutty, though. It stops any Rhino nonsense from happening.
Yeah. And Perpetual Flame has... You really only need the 1 versus Hunter. It's very rare that they reload a Perpetual Flammable board twice.
Yes, agree.
Oh, Diligent
Let's just saying...
Surge.
Like, no Slogger, no Slogger. Yeah, there's no Slogger. Tidal Surge. That's worse than the Slogger. Okay.
Yep. That's gonna keep coming back. Well, not keep coming back. Well, it could keep coming back if he gets another Diligent Note Taker, but just the one time that it goes back feels like it's enough. I mean, however, this is still a whole lot of damage for Fled. Double Aim Shot, Piercing Shot in hand. Aim shots are 5. Piercing Shot max is 5. 16 combined to your burst, 18. He's still a ways off. And that's at least 3 turns, and he knows that at any point Monsanto has at least 4 more health, right? 26 is kind of the magic number. And he's at 18, which is not a particularly high life total.
He doesn't want to ever play a minion again either, so it looks like he's going to... But he never wants to finish with a minion on board again. You can see that he knows he loses to Slogger. He's got a lot of damage. He's trying to work out a way where he doesn't do it. We've seen him do this time and again in this tournament.
Aim shot, hero power.
Okay, that buys him an extra turn or two. It means he needs to top deck some things to get the extra damage, but it buys him some time.
Yep. And Lightning Bloom's not a good draw off the top for Monsanto, because he doesn't have anything to kind of power out. He also doesn't really want to play this Canal Slogger because he doesn't want to leave it vulnerable. He wants to try and get the healing off of it.
Huh.
His piercing shot will almost certainly hit this.
This looks... I don't know if it's a turning point, but piercing shot is
quick shot. Now. Oh, okay. And now that Fled's seen the Canal Slogger, he can feel free to play the Volpertinger. He's also putting on some more pressure, which means that Monsanto might have to respect these minions instead of continuing to push. Oh, and Trap Sorceress, that's so good.
Somewhere to go.
And Fled was expecting there to see the second Slogger. He didn't play around it. He made the right play, but you know your gut, your heart sinks. You're like, yeah, I know the second Slogger's there, but it wasn't there. Yeah. He's back in the game to some degree. He's still a long way behind, but he's got damage in hand. He's got things on board. There isn't a second Slogger. He's got some sort of chance.
What to do?
Yeah. Fled has lethal over 2 turns if he picks up a single damaging card over the next 2 turns. Aim shot, quick shot, hero power. That's 10 alone. You add another 2 from the hero power the following turn. That's 2 damage that he's missing. There is a Tidal Surge, however. And Monsanto's just going to go max power here as well. So he knows what the possibilities are. He doesn't want to give Fled multiple turns. Oh, Twilight Runner as well from the Tiny Toys. Rinlink's Rifle. Oh! Nope, he's just going to revolve. The Tiny Toys revolve. I thought he didn't have mana.
Even
he had one.
Fled sees the funny size of the combo. He just pauses when he sees the Rhino, but it's not enough. All you can do is laugh if you're losing to this, at fairness. He's played a really good game. Never looked like he was going to get out of it, to be fair, but did everything right. Did Fled in this game, and I think throughout this tournament, apart from maybe 1 or 2 of the Shaman games, he's just played a really good tournament. But Monsanto took Friday off, and this is how it looks for him.
Yep. First time he wins group, he just wins the tournament. He should try winning his group more often. Seems to work out for him.
Next time he messages you, say, Lorinda says, try winning the group more often, because TJ says that as well. Or something. That sounded much better in my head than it came out. I can tell you that now.
Yeah, I just did a triple check. There's not even a way that he can stay alive. Because he can take off the 4-3 with the aim shot, which is the most power he can take off with 3 damage. And then he can take out the Trampling Rhino on the other side, which is the most that he can take out with his Rhino. And that would still leave exactly 15 damage on the board.
He's just decided that I can't be bothered to play any of these cards. I'm just going to let you kill me.
All right. There you have it. Monsanto, the Week 2 champion. And him and Language Hacker were both touting that they thought that they had the best lineup. Language Hacker, his run was cut short. But he did have... even though it wasn't world-ending, I will give him credit that he did have some poor panouts. But not an exceptional amount, except by Language Hacker standards. But Monsanto kind of, proving that they at least had some semblance of an idea that they were correct by winning the week with quadruple 0-drop Shadow Priest and Garrote Rogue, which I think was an excellent call when you look at last year's standing.
They had a 0-mana card in all 4 of their decks. They had Desk Imps, Murloc, Tiny Fins, Raised Dead, Freshman in the Priest, Backstab, Prep, Shadow Step in the Rogue, Lightning Bloom in the Shaman, and Raised Dead in the Warlock. So 0-mana cards are the way forward, I think.
Yeah. You heard it here first. That's the metagame now. It's 0-mana cards is the metagame of the future. And there you have it. Final bracket. Monsanto, not only did he win the Battle of Canadian Provinces, but he also won the Battle of Regional Supremacy within the Americas, solidifying Canada. Wait, no. Solidifying North America as the champions. Got to take every opportunity that I can to lump the USA in with success. And I will
not only that,
by
but
riding on the coattails of Monsanto.
There's like a 1 in 8.5 million chance